So welcome back to room beta after coffee. Now we have panel discussion on supply chain attacks, security and open source, hosted by Sally Kleinfeldt. So please welcome big applause for our panelists. And let's begin. We have 40 minutes time.
Thank you. So obviously cybersecurity is something that's on everyone's mind, and we had some little events in the Plone community recently. So folks thought that it would be a nice thing to have a discussion about it here at the conference. I don't know anything about it, so I'm going to be the ignorant audience here. And when these guys go into the weeds, I'm going to try to reel them back and get it into something that I can understand. So I think we want to first talk about what happened and what the vulnerabilities are, and then we'll kind of go into, well, what's the plan, guys, for what we're going to do about this. And I'll ask you guys to introduce yourselves as you speak, so I don't have to, like I said, mispronounce people's names. So let's kick it off from here. You want to give us just like a quick few minutes?
Very safe bet with my last name. My name is Fred van Dijk. I'm currently on two teams in the Plone community. I'm on the admin team as the admin team lead, and I've been on the marketing team for quite a few years. Been a long time Plonista, working at Git Concept,
And I was going to say, maybe we can not have a full introduction. We can just go ahead
Names.
now, talk about what happened.
Yeah. Okay.
So my name is.
I was intending for you to just go ahead and say what happened, and then we'll introduce ourselves as we speak.
So what happened is that the Plone community is using GitHub for its software development, and we had two large two organizations on GitHub. We have the Plone organization, which is managed more strictly by, for example, the admin team, by other teams, by our release managers, where we have kind of good control over the Plone. The Plone CMS system is being developed. When Plone started, we very quickly got into allowing add-ons. And add-ons are the bread and butter
for your favorite add-ons.
Add-ons are the thing that enabled Plone for a very long time and still enable the pluggability there. The problem is there that if you have to jump through 10 burning hoops before you have a place somewhere on the internet to share your add-on in its infancy and start developing it, that blocks anything. So when the internet was still a nice and safe place to be around, the Plone community created a collective repository where it was much easier for anybody with some bit of due diligence, like, hey, who are you? What do you want to do? Is it useful for Plone? And you could create a repository there, start hacking your add-on, and no further questions asked. And that's the separation we've had for many years, where Plone develops its stuff on Plone. But if anyone in the community wants to work and start sharing an add-on outside their own organization or company, you could go to the collective and ask for the space there to have an add-on. And also those add-ons would have been named collective.something by some kind of agreement.
So what happened with the?
So basically, what happened is that the internet is no longer a nice place to be. Also already for many years, and a place to put your source code and to share it with others, that's one thing. But as soon as, and that's where we go into the subject here, the supply chain, as soon as that software is used by other people through any way of distribution, you should be able to verify that it's actually doing what it's intended to do and it does not contain any malicious things. And this is where the initial goal of the collective, like being a bit more free for all and not too many questions are, and the sharing and the collaborating was the thing. There is very limited oversight there, and as soon as you don't use that storage place for your code to share it, but you also start adding automations to automatically deploy it or any other way to that source code to get out and actually get used by other projects without a few people that created that thing to really monitor it, you've got a supply chain problem. And that's exactly what happened at the collective. people added automated deploys or generation of code that got sent somewhere. To do that, they used the push method, where the credentials to start this distribution are stored on GitHub. And a malicious actor, got into a few of those repositories and tried to get the credentials out there to either infect the package itself or to use the credentials to upload something else on the distribution platform or whatever. People found out, and that's luckily people found out. I myself don't know how long or how fast that was done. The people still do, because there is of course some oversight on the collective. We do have some active Plonistas on personal title overseeing the collective a little bit. So they found out, they started mitigating this stuff. And I, as the admin team lead for the Plone organization, got involved later, and it was during the Ferrara sprint in Italy. So that was September 9th to 12 or 13. And I got asked like, hey, Fred, we should do something for this. And then I started, and I learned all about what I just told you, with also, of course, all the knowledge I have from being a long time in the Plone community and why the collective was made and how is it functioning. And we started, so luckily the first things were mitigated. We did a quick scan and we found that only a few repositories had added credentials and other things. So we were very quickly in analyzing that this was really it. And yeah, we're now in the process of fixing this middle and long term.
So probably, Moritz, maybe do you have things to add about what happened and what your role was in that? Or
Yeah, so I'm Maurits van Rees. I'm a release manager, and also I'm on the security team. And yeah, so I'm not sure where it got reported initially, but at least I know Martin Peters. He saw something, did some first mitigations. Hey, someone is trying to steal some secrets. Okay, let's reverse those commits. Then we also saw a few times, like a day later, that same commit was done again actually, so I referred to that. And there were, so that there were basically 2 users who were doing that. I had no, so these are users who are actually parts of the collective. Someone has in recent years added them to the collective. I personally don't know them, I have no idea who they are. Maybe some other people actually know them and they have done some useful things in the collective. That could very well be. And this may just be that their account got taken over and hacked and they don't know anything about it. So we don't really know about that. But yeah, at least actions that were taken were, okay, let's revoke their membership from the collective. So things like that. They've also reported both users to GitHub for, hey, this may be a malicious actor. And yeah, within a few hours or a day or so, we got message back from GitHub that they handled it, and then I think I couldn't find those users back again. So it seemed they were really removed totally from GitHub. So apparently GitHub also thought, yeah, this is not good. Don't know if they've tried similar things in other organizations. Of course, for GitHub that would be easier to see. Hey, they're trying this in hundreds of repositories and organizations. Then it's clear to them from, okay, this is really malicious.
And then I think, Jakob, you got called in to do. Did you file the CVE or whatever it's called?
I don't think for this specific incident I was involved for the communications.
And say who you are.
There was, I'm Jakob Karl. I'm also a member of the security team. For the specific incident we're talking about, as far as I remember, I was not deeply involved, neither in the communications nor the mitigation.
Was there a second?
There was a second thing that I would class as supply chain incident, though I'm not sure whether that we'll actually bring this up in this panel, or maybe rather later on. But maybe the NPM incident, the Quicks one that we had recently, as well, where from the NPM account of a maintainer of plenty of open source packages that are outside of the Plone community was taken over and malicious code was distributed. We had that as well, so I'd say this also plays part in the discussion about supply chain. But I'd say we rather focus on the incident that we're talking about now for the time being, and then maybe move over to the other one later on.
Because we are a consumer. The Volta front end was using one or more of those compromised packages.
Exactly.
And it's kind of two separate kind of incidents and two separate things to do about them.
And in the case of the collective, we saw that there were no releases made to the Python package index. So in that regard, there wasn't really a problem yet. I think secrets were trying to be stolen, but most of the repositories did not have them. I think only one of them had them, and it was claimed that that wasn't really used actually. So the real danger there wasn't actually any danger, but we did need to take measurements.
Also, before people, but the NPM was a big problem. No, like more for our collective subjects, no packages were distributed. Where we are a consumer in the front end of other open source project NPM packages, there our normal policy is to really pin down packages so we don't easily quickly grab the latest version of those packages very fast. So there also, it was not a huge thing, but it was already a bit bigger, because in that part of our code base, we do have a policy of following up on small patch releases or things. So that was where we were actually kind of more a victim of in consuming it, and the collective was something where we are also actively kind of related to providing those packages, and where we had more control of fixing it ourselves.
You want to add your perspective on this?
Yeah, that's interesting. I heard about this.
Say who you are.
I'm Jussi Talaskivi. I'm here from University of Jyväskylä. I heard about this issue just about the same time as all of the audience here. So it's kind of now fresh in my mind. I'm starting to think what are our own mitigations for this kind of a situation. And we have some policies, in fact, I think would help in this. We pin all our versions quite strictly that we only use certain things. So if there are no malicious releases done, we should be safe. And also we don't directly consume the CI pipeline from the collective or the pipeline. We have our own local mirrors of all of those major repositories, NPM and stuff like that. And we have also this slightly weird tweak on that pipeline that the developer has actually been the one that has downloaded the package the first time. Our CI/CD can't download by itself a package that the developer hasn't been downloaded first. I've talked with a vendor who provides us the repository system, and they thought it was a bit weird, but I'm not thinking it's weird. I think it's a good idea that the CI/CD can't act on its own to update packages and stuff like that. It needs to be something that the developer has, at least in theory, been involved in that case. So kind of that's my opinion on this.
Do you want to add to the what happened, or shall we move on to the what we should do about it?
I would say move on to the what we should do about it.
Okay.
Maybe so. I'm Alexander Löchel. I'm also on this Plone security team, and I'm an IT manager of the University of Munich. And I want to say supply chain attacks are a common thing today. And the problem with it is there are different perspectives or different roles on it. And we have to see it from the different perspective also of the members of our community. We as core developers of Plone see what we do need on cosmetic or on cleanup in the communities to keep our system safe. But it's also the sides of the universities or the other people running Plone that most of them rely or are critical infrastructure provider under the European Cyber Resilience Act. So there is a lot of influence on the users, what they probably need. And their needs reflect back on us as providers, even if that we are non-commercial open source foundation community. The things like the Cyber Resilience Acts impose certain elements that you need something like a so-called SBOM, a software bill of material, so that you have a full list of dependencies, not only the direct dependencies, also the transient dependencies of those packages for your software you are running. For open source, that's quite easy because you do know and can track down all the things. But on commercial software, it's even harder because you have to trust the vendor of it. But the thing is, Fred talked yesterday about the workload we have in the teams of Plone. And a lot of work we are doing is trying to improve Plone. But there's so much other things around. And if we need to provide a software bill of material for all of our packages, for all of our dependencies, track it down, hunt down if there is malicious code in some of the dependencies outside of the Plone community, there's lots of work involved. And that's an additional workload that needs to be faced in the system. And I guess if we can provide things like an SPDX record in future for Plone, some of the users of Plone needs to divert from it because they cannot build or reclaim the things for its own. So there's also lots of problems involved with those supply chain attacks.
What you said, what is that?
That's a project of the Linux Foundation for building an automated data format that you can use for software bills of material to automate. Dependabot, for example, uses something like that to trace down all your dependencies and if there is a CSV attached to it and so on.
So
it's an automated process to
Yes.
once you have it, but we would have to, somebody in the Plone community would have to create
For the Python
file.
part, we already have things like set3c version check, Plone version check, and so on, that can provide almost similar things, not or at least show you all your dependencies with the pinned version. Even pip-freeze does that for a lot of things. In the MPN world, there is a bit more to do, but we need to provide those
So it's
software
one
bills of
thing
materials.
to provide the software bills of materials for Plone itself, but then are the developers of add-ons now in
Yes.
the future expected that they need to provide the software bill of materials for their add-ons? Is that what we're going to?
Probably, or at least the vendors that provide Plone with a certain set of plugins to the customers. And a company like Kit Concept or Red Turtle or all the others in the community.
but also a larger organization like the
New York.
university
Yes.
who consumes the open source, the packages themselves,
Yes.
which is something that, I mean, integrators are there
Yes.
for the organizations that cannot or will not, or for any reason don't want to do this themselves. But
Yes.
we have this shared possibility, this whole range of how you can use Plone in your own organization through an integrator, through your own local internal team. And this is, you talked about it, this is the technical solutions to that.
Yeah.
But there's a huge organizational and educational aspect. Like I introduced the thing, this particular incident started because people did not realize that they thought they had their own closed off kind of small repository where they built one piece, and they did not realize that the collective is one big open space where many users can write to any repository that's there, because that was the collaboration model that we set up for this thing 20 years ago.
And I think it's still a valid and an amazing idea having such a collective, but seeing that people, or we normally assume people are in good intent working, but there's always someone with bad intents out there.
And if there isn't, then the credentials get stolen from someone with good intent, and that whole intent does not even is irrelevant.
I think the trust model may have to be changed a little bit in the nowadays, so that it's based on some type of thing that, okay, this person trusts that person, that there is some kind of a lineage of trust of the persons who have been, so it's not completely some out of the bushes that gets the credentials for it.
So is there thinking to actually change the model of the collective because of this, or I mean, how do we address this?
maybe if we're looking what Fred has already started with the discussion on the GitHub things, I've looked afterwards a lot into the GitHub model. The GitHub actually itself has changed their rights model. So there is a different right model for CI/CD contributors and for normal developers. So if we are looking into it, there could be that we have the same old trust model for regular developers, but that we may need to protect the main or master branches of the repositories and to have only a very, very limited set of people having actually the right of CI/CD things, so that the amount of people then can access the credential, the secrets in GitHub is limited to a real group of person that uses a lot of multi-factor authentication, additional signing, and so on, so that we actually see that there is a secure process behind.
Right. Is that initiative happening now, or it's under discussion, or you're?
So the background there is, I mentioned this in my talk yesterday. We have been considering things like these already for a long time for the, let's put it this way, way more strictly and closely and actively managed Plone Foundation, Plone organization on GitHub.
Right.
So we had all these plans already discussed since end of last year and throughout this year, and we already have a model there where we go from is already way more restrictive, and we are going to add more. So we were in the lucky situation that when this collective incident happened, I had already almost everything there, at least in my mind, and synced with a lot of people, with Maurits, with other release managers and developers.
And you were thinking specifically of the Plone organization as opposed to the collective.
As opposed to the collective.
But now you're just applying.
So we are now, and we already started the process of applying to the collective first. The only extra issue we have with the collective is that because it was from the beginning so much more open, we'll have some really tough challenges which are already now being worked on to actually close down the collective with the measures that GitHub provides. A real problem with the collective that it has been so unmanaged that we first need to figure out who was actually contributing actively to which repository, so that we can only give those people who were using that repository only right access. And like Alexander already said, then we can use all those other also more advanced GitHub settings to to kind of make the collective safe again. But that will be a challenge. And GitHub is not easy. GitHub is a beast of a social coding platform where even just having a small discussion with people on how we should lock things down can end up in a half-a-day workshop and discussion to just sync what people know about what's possible with GitHub.
If I remember correctly, the collective started in the SVN days, probably Subversion.
Yeah, everything started in Subversion. Yeah,
because the collaboration model is nowadays so much different than it was in Subversion time. So GitHub itself provides a lot more other ways to collaborate than what was the one Subversion repo thing.
Yeah.
So for people used to participating in projects on the collective, what will change for them? Will they suddenly find that they don't have the same access to projects that are not their own projects? They'll have to more formally submit PRs or something to the project owners? Is that basically?
This is the whole discussion that when you lock down, you also might inadvertently block all the collaboration that people were used to or having there. And this is this constant battle between facilitation, collaboration, and with changed circumstances, still keeping things secure. And that's the battle we will have to face. And yes, we have a plan now to analyze and to limit access. But it will be the adagium, ask forgiveness later.
Absolutely.
So this is also something what happened is that we're already discussing with the people that still have actively vouched to want to manage and support and help individual people to be a manager of the collective organization.
I assume you have a way to communicate via email or whatever with all
Yeah,
these
there's
people?
limited communication possibilities, but we will need to set up a process where people can report like, hey, I used to have access to this repository, you missed me, what happened? So this all also has to be set up in place, and these are all these extra processes that we never had to do, for which we don't have people already ready.
Yeah.
So that will be the biggest challenge, finding the people who want to support this new model of governing the collective, which we must do, but for which we must find people and resources.
What Joe, is there a plan for the communication platform? Are you planning on? Where do you advertise this in the hot top level README files or something? I mean, where or it's all via email?
We go into details.
Or
you can say it. I already copied. So there's this new way in GitHub since a while where you can create discussions, and what we're going to do is use the discussions feature on GitHub organizations, where you can kind of have a message board, where if you have things to lock down properly, it won't become an open forum where thousands of people show up, but where, for example, from a small group of people, you can post messages and say, look, we had to do this and this and this and this. These are the new procedures that we think. If you have any idea, please, if you want to help out, join us here. So this is the GitHub. This is one of the few ways I've seen how we can do the communications and on this change. So that will be the discussions feature that we're going to use.
Okay, so everybody that uses the collective, take a look at the discussion feature in the future.
Yeah, it will be. So there's this feature where you can enable one big discussion board for the whole organization, which will also be visible as a main tab on. So that's how we're going to do it for the collective. And yeah, spoiler, that's also how we're going to do this GitHub management related communications also for the Plone Foundation.
Right.
But as I said, we were planning this for the Plone Foundation, and then the collective incident kind of came first.
Right. Should we add more to this, and then we'll move on to the NPM thing maybe in a minute or two. Go ahead.
Yeah, so a small bit of history about the collective. It used to be that you could just open an issue somewhere and say, hey, I'd like to contribute to the collective, and we would automatically say, okay, sure, go ahead, and then you had the membership. And that was until a few years ago, but we got the distinct impression that a lot of people were just asking that so they could add the collective badge on their profile. So it looked like they were busy in all kinds of communities, and I started to recognize some other badges from similar communities. So we've basically, not locked it down, but we have an issue template where at first we also say if you create a new issue for, hey, I want to be a member, we also have some text there saying, okay, you may not need access, you can just open an issue everywhere, and you can make a fork and do a pull request from there. That's also possible. But okay, if you still want that, okay, check these boxes where we ask some questions. Also, where are you going to use it for? And most people just leave that completely blank. So they're hardly even reading it, maybe even, or there's AI that just submits stuff. Or so most of those applications we don't even need to take seriously. So that's also a bit the point. So most applications aren't really serious. So in some cases there are, or they may just not be too good in English and don't really understand the questions. That's possible, but that's also a part of the history.
I would say we have the collective of one thing. We have the Plone organization, we have the Zob Foundation organization, we have some others too. The thing with the collective, and that was one of the nicest things, was that you could contribute to it without being a core contributor, without the need of this former complicated process of signing the contributor agreement and so on. The thing of the collective is there are a lot of valuable add-ons on it where people can get either inspiration from or directly use it or contribute back to them. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. The thing is, the more you strip down access to those repositories, especially with a protected master branch or something, you do need people that themselves feel responsible for this add-on. to claim, okay, I will take the responsibility and look after all pull requests and so on, so that if we do it still openly, that everybody can contribute, but not merge it to the master branch, not release it automatically. With the thousands of add-on in the collective, how many people we are, how many add-ons are still relevant. So there's a lot of cleanup necessary. And what happened with people that life happens, they step out of the community for a few weeks, months, years, came back, but still using the systems and so on.
So there should be, you're saying that it's probably important to have a new model where we more rigorously enforce that each add-on will have an owner who's responsible for.
Yeah, but even if you have one owner, then you have the hit by the bus problem. If he gets hit.
Lots of refactoring
Well,
nowadays.
right, but I mean, the ownership can change over time.
Yeah,
Well,
there
for
are
example.
enough admins even on the collective, but we do need groups of responsible people. But then
Right.
the
But
community
there can't be just one group for
capabilities,
thousands
the
of
resources are limited.
members. Yeah, exactly.
With the Plone development process, we have this in the Volto team, the classic UI team, active Plone also maintaining the core. We have our release managers, so that's the process that's there. But yeah, indeed, if you want to mitigate the collective situation, you have to have a lightweight version of what we're doing in the Plone community, what Alexander just described.
But I want to divert the discussion to another topic, and that's come back to the supply chain.
So the
We are
related.
depending on packages from other communities, from other developers. And sometimes for them life happens. So what do we do with packages where they did not have the Python versions we need compatible with anymore? What's happened with if their repositories get and take over where we do not have any influence on, and so on. So the supply chain attacks can happen always. And it's an immense threat for installations, for the community. Because if we have to replace an essential core library outside of the Plone ecosystem, that could be quite
Big job.
big job. Well, pin down the versions to an older one. Does mitigate it for a certain period of time, but not for always.
Does somebody want to explain a little bit more about what happened with the NPMs?
So yeah, a few weeks or I guess a month or two back, there was a incident that affected quite a large chunk of the JavaScript ecosystem. The NPM account, I think, of one of the maintainers of multiple packages that had been widely used in many other JavaScript packages was taken over and infected with malicious code. I think the intent was trying to steal credentials and reroute crypto transactions to some other wallet. I'm not entirely sure what the intent was there. This was relatively quickly noticed by the maintainer. He got back control of his account and reverted the changes. What effect did it have on Plone or our packages? The effect was quite limited to negligible because we had our versions pinned. We only used one of the affected packages, and that as a dev dependency, so it wasn't even deployed for production sites, which was better as well. We nevertheless, when we noticed, did a security announcement to let other people in the community know, hey, this happened. Maybe you look at your own packages, check whether you have your versions pinned, and not accidentally maybe also pinned the malicious version. What I want to say about this, those incidents happen maybe not regularly, but from time to time, and there's no real way to completely avoid this. Package can get affected. Therefore, it's important to stress, pin your fucking versions. and be aware what you're using down your dependency tree.
Software bill of materials.
Exactly. And keep an eye open or an ear open on forums, news websites to early notice when those things happen and get announced.
But this is really a software crafts thing and a lot of education where in organizations, wherever you need to educate and monitor this, that like in this particular case, what could have gone wrong, for example, is if you are trying to build work on your Plone project and this particular package was pinned correctly by Volto if you install the project using the ways that we suggest you do, and then you say, oh, but for this particular feature I found a bug, I need the latest version of this project. So I override the software version from the correctly pinned version that will not be affected if the package gets malicious, and the developer locally says, oh, but I'll just say version star. That's where in this particular instance, it would have been open. And that's basically software craftsmanship where you learn, and we need to educate everybody about these things.
For sure. Actually, I know we can keep going, but I want to just maybe pause a minute and see if we have questions from the audience.
Yeah.
And if we don't,
Yes.
then we can go back to Alexandra. Are there other topics or questions that we should address?
What? Mike?
The mic is for recording.
Okay, thanks. So I don't have a lot of experience with contributing to the open source community and stuff, but do you know of any instances that like one of these issues happened in one of the packages that was like how much time later was it found out? Because like your example, you said you found it before there was a release. With NPM package there was already released, but maybe sometimes it's like months, and then how do you know when to pin your version?
I would actually going to such an example. Maybe everybody who reads about IT security news on something have heard about the Log4j incident. That was a huge incident. We currently talked about mostly packages that influence Plone core packages, but every or every larger installation of Plone uses Solar, Elasticsearch or OpenSearch and has direct dependency for Log4j. So also a lot of Plone installation probably was infected or involved with that problem. So it's normally quite spot on that you find out that there is a problem on a huge used package, and those are the targeted most to be there. But it's like a zero-day attack. The damage happens in the first few hours.
And to also, when was it detected? So we talked about our ecosystem, we talked about third-party packages that we use. There's also well-known, somewhere this year, if you follow on online development, where actually, so I think it was Linux core, where a malicious, probably state actor, multiple state actors, for 2 years slowly took over a core base operating system package and then started to infect that. And then everybody, if somebody gets into a core package which is used in Linux, but as an example, and state actors have the possibility now to work towards that goal for multiple years, impersonating whatever, just to get into an open source package, which is at the lowest level of everything that we're using. This is how deep it can go.
Thank you. Would you like to, Sally, say something
On
for the
that
end?
depressing note.
I want to be positive. Yeah, sorry, but that was found. Sorry, the positive that was found out as well and documented, and it's all. If you search for it, I forgot the name. Maybe you know. I thought you were going to do that example, but
No.
But this is so. Yes, this is getting top of mind.
Okay, Sally's turn to turn of the last positive note.
Good luck, Sally.
No pressure.
Educate
Evil
yourself.
place,
Be very
stay
careful.
away from
Be aware that changes are coming to the collective. We hope you will all continue to contribute, and we'd love people to step up and help us to do this bit of work that we've now got to do with the making bills of materials and making sure everybody knows and communicating out to what the changes are. So please help us, and please just stay safe.
Awesome. Thank you for your attendance. Big applause for our panel.